word.
Thank you for coming. Oh, yep. We
Sorry.
Gotta record this. I'll start over. Thank you everybody for coming to the, I believe this is Edge Wine Club, but we will cover any wines that you have received in your wine shipment. So don't be shy about asking questions at the end about the wines that were not in the presentation here tonight. Speaking of presentations, I'm going to attempt to share my screen here and we will get started.
Yay.
Is this, can you see it?
Ah, yes, there it is.
Very
Wes.
good.
Yay.
This
Looks
will
great.
start. Perfect. Oh, okay. All right. Our first selections for the night, I also don't have my booklet, but I have a good idea what it is. It's the 2021 Riesling Bubble. A little bit about Riesling. It originated in the Rhine region of Germany. That's the Rhine River that flows all the way from through Germany, France, and I think down into maybe Switzerland. Don't quote me on that. And it grows very well here in the Finger Lakes. You all know this. Some common aromas: apricot, nectarine, peach. Sorry, those are flavors. Apple pear, etc. Common aromas: honey, honeycomb, beeswax. I think we can sometimes get some floral aromas here, like the citrus blossom. Here at Atwater, we have almost 8 acres. We ripped out about a little over an acre, maybe acre and a half this year of a troublesome block. That was our N7 block. It was just not very productive, and the quality of the fruit wasn't great, and it was kind of just a pain to deal with. But we have plenty more, so don't worry. We will have Riesling for all of you Riesling lovers. And our oldest block is our East-West 1, 2, and 3. Those were planted in 1988 and are still going strong. That's one of my favorite blocks. We reserve most of the East-West specifically for our East-West specific Riesling. However, there actually is some East-West in this bubble tonight, and we will discuss that right now. So this vintage, as some of you know, 2021 was really bad, or I shouldn't say bad, it was very difficult. There were some winners and some not so much winners as far as grapes go. However, the Riesling tends to usually do well in cool, wet years like 2021 was. But we did something interesting this year. Well, we do this every year, and we have been doing this for a few years now. We have a organic block, or a bio-intensive would probably be the correct answer. And that is our C1 block. It is our biggest block. It is, if you're standing in the tasting room and looking out the balcony, it is the block immediately to your left. If you look at the road that kind of goes down west towards the lake, on the left there, that first big block is the block on the left is the C1 block, the Riesling, which is what mostly we're drinking tonight. You can see there's 64% of that C1 in there.
Hey, Wes, not the. Is anybody else be able to see a screen? I can't see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it? Okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I can't see it.
I got it.
All right.
All right.
How long has that been going on, George?
Well, I thought maybe I think I'm having an issue here. Never
Okay.
mind. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right.
All right, George,
right,
when
where
did you
was-
open that bottle?
Yeah.
I know. I think
How
I
much
might
of
have
that have you
started
had?
too early. Sorry.
I can try resharing if you want.
No, that's a good.
Okay.
I think. Oh, there it is. I found
Okay.
it.
Where was it? So the C1 block is our bio-intensive block. And even though this year was really tough, Chris King, our vineyard manager, came and asked me and Vinny and I, what we would like to, what we wanted him to do essentially. He basically gave us the option of we can keep going forward with keeping it entirely organic or go conventional again. We chose to keep it organic, and that resulted in something interesting. We made it work. As you can see, the harvest bricks is pretty low. 17.2 is not really something you want to see. So what happened was, because we went organic, and there was a lot of mildew pressure, specifically downy mildew pressure, and organic pesticides do not do very well against downy mildew. We got a lot of downy mildew. Chris did a fantastic job, because I feel like most places would not have gotten any fruit. We got a bunch of fruit off of it, but it didn't ripen very well because the downy mildew infected the leaves, the canopy, and pretty much eroded the canopy. If you were here at all in 2021 in the tasting room during harvest and you looked out the window, you could see the Cab Franc, which is one of the main blocks right in front of you, and that looks pretty green. And you looked over to the left and it was mostly barren and pretty brown. That was the downy mildew, basically eating away at the leaves. Anyway, it worked out. I think the wine tasted great, but what we had to do was we blended in a little of our East-West, an East-West tank in. That brought in a lot more kind of tropical fruits. The C1 tank by itself was very citrusy, very acid driven. It had good acid, it had good kind of drive and structure to it, but it was a little one-dimensional. And the East-West came in and gave the wine a whole lot of aroma and character. So that was the interesting thing about this wine. It is mostly organic-ish, at least the grapes in it are. As far as pressing, it's our usual deal for most of our Rieslings. It's crushed and immediately pressed in our press and goes straight into a tank. It sits there to settle overnight to let all the solid sink to the bottom. We rack it off into another tank and begin its fermentation. That fermentation took place in stainless steel tanks, which is normal for most of our Rieslings, except for our East-West Riesling, which is done in barrels. And the aging is quick on this, just 3 months of stainless steel. That's basically just the time that it took to ferment and for us to figure out a blend for it and get it over carbonated and in a bottle and to you.
Wes,
Sam.
Alex had a very good question in the comments.
Please, yes, I am actually not looking at the chat. Go ahead.
What is a good harvest bricks value and what does it mean?
So good is subjective to what you want to do with those grapes. So I would say in the Finger Lakes, if you want the lowest you would probably want to see, I mean, you can see here that we made it work with this one, with these grapes, with the addition of another block, which did not have 17 bricks. 17 bricks is pretty low. You would, for a non-sparkling wine, with the exception of this, because this is forced carbonated, but I'll get to sparkling in a minute. For a non-sparkling wine, 20 bricks and up. 22 in the Finger Lakes, you probably won't see over 23 in a really hot year. And that's not something, at Atwater, we won't pick at 23. We'll pick before that in most cases. So I would say around 20 is a great number. 20 and up for a still wine. Sparkling, forced carbonated included. So this Riesling bubble included. 18 to 19. If this wine was a traditional method like our Brut, our 2016 Brut that's available, I would say 18 to 19, because you want more acid That's kind of the driving force of the wine. So if you're looking for sparkling, 18 to 19 bricks would be good. Everything else, I would say 20 and up. Hopefully that answered your question. Oh, and what does it mean? Bricks is purely a sugar accumulation. Oh, Sam just answered this in the chat. Thank you, Sam.
Please, please. I just wanted to add in here a little bit.
No,
Go
please,
ahead.
please do. I appreciate it. Yeah, bricks is just a measurement of density, I believe, and it measures the sugar density within a given liquid. In this case, grape juice. So yes. So what? Somebody give me some aromas and flavors they're getting from this. Sam, I know you're great at this. Or George, or Amanda, or anybody else.
Half of us are staff here, so we should be able to come up with something.
I only have rosé on me tonight. I don't have my glass.
I too have a mystery wine. It's very delicious. It is Outwater. It's a white,
Damn.
but it is not the Riesling. Any guesses?
All right, fine. I guess I'll give
I
this
have
a
a
go.
head cold, so I can't smell anything.
All right. I see. Throwing the excuses.
Well, there's a lot of citrus. I think there's,
I was
of
gonna
course,
say.
a lot of citrus.
A lot of citrus.
Lot
I
of
get
citrus,
some,
yeah.
like citrus leaves. I definitely get that citrus blossom.
Yeah.
There's a
Sort of that sort of citrus skin. There's a lot of citrus. Seems to be there's a little bit of sort of orange. You know,
yeah, I
some
was gonna
kind
say
of,
it's a wide array of citrus.
yeah,
It's not just
citruses.
lime.
Yeah.
There's some orange, or maybe you could argue some grapefruit in the palate.
Yeah, some maybe
I
bright
see
apple.
you guys have this in traditional wine glasses. Would you drink this like a traditional drink and swirl it like a traditional wine? We put it in champagne glasses
So-
because it's got bubbles, and why not?
Yeah.
I'm a snob. I'm a glass snob. I don't like flutes. I feel like flutes take away from the aroma, the bouquet
Okay.
of sparkling. I wouldn't say you put this in a big red glass, but I mean you can enjoy this in a flute. Let's be honest. This is not
Would this be better?
traditional. Yeah, I'd say yes. I'm looking at your screen, Lindsay. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it better? Subjective. If you enjoy the wine out of a flute, drink it out of a flute. This is not aged traditional method brut. This is Riesling Bubble. Not that we think any less of Riesling Bubble, but Riesling Bubble is a fun, elitist wine. So you drink it out whatever you want.
Okay.
But I personally like sparkling in a white wine glass or something, a universal glass, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think I put mine in a white wine glass, just because I think like Wes was saying, those flutes are really narrowed, and so
Yes.
I think just being able to let your nose more in there with the glass and opening it up a little more, there's more surface area for the wine to spread out, so it aerates a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Once again, it's sort of subjective, like you said. I tend to put any more in a white wine glass for my sparklings.
For what it's worth, I think flutes have somewhat gone out of fashion, and not only are they out of fashion, but in I have some flutes, for instance. I don't use them. I'm in the camp where I use sort of a more or less universal sort of wine glass. This is just a standard like white wine glass. I think flutes were developed because champagne was originally served in coupe glasses.
Right.
So
I like the
wider.
flutes better. I just don't have any.
Oh yeah, no, me neither, right? But for what it's worth, I think any bubbly in a standard glass is just going to give you, as the consumer, more to enjoy.
Okay.
I agree. This
Thank you.
picture here is a kind of a good example of a good use of the bubble. In not in every case, but in some cases, it's a good cocktail. It's good for cocktails. You could replace this for anything that calls for prosecco or champagne, like a French 75. I have not tested this in something like an Aperol spritz, but you could argue that any sort of spritz you could replace, whatever the bubbles they call for there, as so long as it's alcoholic bubbles, probably couldn't replace tonic water with this, but it's a good cocktail mixer. So
Yeah,
keep that
I
in
don't know what
mind.
Amy, Alex was asking what it is. My wife, of course, made it. My wife does not cook, but she got really excited about making this cocktail with this with the bubble. So it's like, I think it's frozen strawberries. It's
gonna
basically
say.
like a smoothie, but
Nice.
halved with with bubble. And so it was really good. Because then she made a whole thing of it, and she's like, what am I going to do with all this? I'm like, I guess we're going to have to drink it. And so we did drink most of that.
Nice.
She made like a whole blender full of it. So it did work well because the sort of citrus and the strawberries and all that stuff did.
Before we move on, does anybody have any questions about the Riesling bubble? And if you think of something later on, we can ask it again at the end, if you don't have a question now.
I guess I just like to say with the bubble, Wes was talking about, it's low. I guess Wes and Vinny going through the vineyard and deciding, this was an organic block, and knowing it was lower sugar, it was sort of a natural thing, as winemakers,
Yes.
Vinny and Wes sitting there going, okay, we have these different blocks. What do we do with them? And because this one had lower sugar and was more acid driven, it was sort of a natural choice to put it into a sparkling. So, we talked about these and these other things where, you sometimes the year tells you what to do. This was one of those ones where, like, at harvest, when we're harvesting grapes, you're sort of changing what you thought you were going to do with something. This was one of those ones that they said, okay, we didn't get the sugars we wanted. We got this nice organic grapes. What do we do with it? It's going to make a great sparkling. I think that's a lot of times, with these small crops and stuff, you're making decisions as winemakers to put it in the best place it needs to go. And what's fun about this one, a lower alcohol, lower, more sort of acid driven, makes this one of the, I think this is actually one of the best, better bubbles we've had, because it's so much more like a sparkling wine, like a
Yes.
method than previous ones where they're a little heavier. I feel like this one's really meant to be this was meant to be a sparkling wine. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Next up is the Cabernet Franc and Blaufränkisch Rosé. This is a first for us as far as rosé blends go. We've always done the classic Atwater Blaufränkisch Rosé, which is very earthy. I like to think of it as earthy watermelons. There's always this watermelon character that I find in our Blaufränkisch Rosé, and it always is followed up with some sort of earthy, umami, mushroomy tone to it. And then you have Cabernet Franc, which is very fruity, tooty, so fruity that you might even think it's sweet. So we thought, let's blend them together. We need more rosé, and we haven't done Cab Franc in a while, but we also have Blau, and those two we thought together would make a great wine, and I think they have. But before we get into that, a little bit about Cabernet Franc. It is native to southwest of France. I think you all know this variety pretty well from us. It's a pretty versatile grape. It's grown pretty all over the world in an array of hot climates, moderate climates, cool climates. It's a versatile in the cellar as well. It can be rosé, it can be a full-on barrel-aged red, and those flavors can be within the same spectrum, but two very, on each end of the spectrum. The rosé is going to be lots of strawberries and maybe raspberry, and then your barrel-aged red will be much more of the jammy, darker fruits, along with the pyrazines like the bell pepper and maybe even some hot pepper as well. This is a kind of a staple for us at Atwater. We have almost 4 acres of it. I think it's our most planted red wine, red grape varietal that we have. Oh, my screen is not working. All right, there we go. And on to Blaufränkisch. We do not call it Lemberger, but it also goes by Lemberger. I believe that's the German name for Blaufränkisch. Blaufränkisch originally is from Austria, their neighbor. It's a popular variety in Austria and Hungary, but in the Finger Lakes, we have kind of adopted it as one of our, I'd say our second most popular red, most planted red. That's just an opinion. I don't know if that's fact, but I feel like most people now have a Blaufränkisch or a Lemberger available. And it grows really well here. It's very productive. It's relatively cold hardy, decent disease resistance, as you can see in this picture. The clusters are huge and very open, so a lot of air can get in and prevent disease and mildews and rain from staying in there and developing. And some of its flavors, this is much more on the darker fruit spectrum. You've got blackberries and bramble and black cherry. It can develop some dark chocolate as well, especially when it's made into a red barrel-aged wine. Some aromas, red currant, more of those black fruits, some baking spices like cardamom, even a little pepper. Definitely earthy. I feel like Atwater, Blaufränkisch, both the rosé and the barrel-aged red always have some sort of earthy tone. We've had it for about 15 years here at Atwater, and we have about 2 acres of it in 2 separate blocks, and they're both very interesting blocks. One is on our south end. I believe it's maybe the 11th or 12th block down, so it's pretty far down. But parallel to it is actually the north block, but they're on 2 very different soils, and they produce pretty different fruit. I mean, it's still Blaufränkisch, but one block we tend to use for rosé, and the other we tend to use for a barrel-aged red. So keep that in mind. I believe if you want to know the block, I believe we use the southern block for rosé, but it's not always black and white. Some years we might use one or the other, but in general, I believe the south block tends to have a little higher acid and therefore is a little better for rosé. Okay.
They seem to ripen at different.
Yes, they ripen at different times as
Yeah.
well, for sure. Speaking of ripening, this year we brought this in at about 19.2 bricks. All of the bricks levels this year were a little on the lower side, but I think we were happy to see 19.2 this year. That's a fine harvest bricks for rosé. We may have chaptalized a little bit. And the blend is 69% Cabernet Franc and 31% Blaufränkisch, so it's definitely Cab Franc dominant. But I don't think he picked that up on the palate or on the nose. Pretty much, I think it's very well balanced. It's not too fruity from the Cab Franc. It definitely has some earthy elements to it as well. Classic stainless steel fermentation and aged for just a few months in tank, so we can get it out to you guys.
It was it's kind of interesting because I like Cab Franc rosé, but I like the blend a little bit better because Cab Franc rosé for me sometimes comes off as too fruity.
Yes, for sure.
And I think the Blau does a nice job of sort of balancing that fruitiness out.
I agree.
Although I do get we were talking about that bell or hot pepper. There is a little bit of that Cab Franc, hot pepper coming through. It's kind of fun. I kind of like that in this rosé.
You've liked all your rosés of late. You had a Cab Franc by itself last year with
Did we?
the Pinot Noir.
We
Well,
had
We just had Blau.
we had Blau and Pinot
no,
Noir.
that's right. It was Blau and Pinot Noir. Sorry.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this one's a blend with Cab Franc in it.
Yeah.
I don't think we.
might like this one a little more actually.
This one's
I don't-
sweeter than the.
Yeah, I mean, is it sweeter? Maybe. Yeah, I think the last one was
Strawberry.
like point something less, but still pretty dry. We haven't done a Cab Franc.
I get a lot.
This is the first Rosé at Cab Franc we've done in God, probably since 16,
Yeah,
15 or
I was misremembering. It was Blau and Pinot Noir last year.
yeah. Well, it's kind of fun to come back to Cab Franc because
Well, two
we
different
haven't
ones. There
made,
was one that was Rosé of, yeah.
we had another one, but we hadn't done a Cab Franc in a while. So it was kind of fun to, even though this is a blend of it, it was kind of fun to come back to it because we didn't make Cab Franc past couple of years. We made Blau and then we had Pinot. But we were trying some new stuff, but it's fun to have it in. I actually like the blend better.
Yes, I
Better.
do
So do
too.
we.
I think just because it does balance out the fruitiness with that sort of earthy Blau thing, like Wes was saying, and
Mhm.
I think this is something we would possibly do more of. Once again, will we do a whole Cab Franc? Well, we'll have to see what Wes and Vinny come up with next year, but
Yeah.
I think
many
this is
cases-
actually a really good blend. What's that?
I agree with you. We don't normally like rosés, but I like this one.
That's nice. Well, we
How
made a
many
good amount of
cases
it.
did you-
530.
Whew.
Ooh, wow.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well,
Is that
get some
correct?
more.
Yeah, no, it was about 1,400 gallons. Yep,
Yeah.
A lot. A lot.
So good. Yeah, we're happy about that because we needed lots of stuff to keep you guys satiated. Yeah. So no, I really like this one. I think I'm glad we have a lot of it because sometimes you're like, oh, well, I wish we had more of something else, but we actually for once we actually made a good amount of this. We had a lot. I think there was a couple of reasons. I think we're going to make more Cab Franc, but actually we didn't have a lot of bin space for more Cab Franc, so we
We were out of bins.
we're out of bins. So
We're
we
out of
said, well,
bins.
I guess we're making more Rosé, which was actually not too bad an idea. So it was sort of a weird. Once again, we were talking about all these things that happen during harvest. You have all these best laid plans, but the vintage has other ideas sometimes, and so it's fun to sort of, between Wes and Vinny, and it's fun now with me because I'm not so much in the cellar as much as I used to be. So Wes and Vinny are going, okay, well, we have this much space. What can we do? I'm like, well, more rosé. I get to make the hard choices. Like, they do all the hard work. I just have to make the hard choices. Those hard choices.
Oh yeah. Very
I
tough.
sit in my office here and go, oh, and then I make the hard choice. More rosé, please. So that's all I got to say. Please, Wes.
Amanda, since you said you had a rosé, you want to give me some?
Oh yeah, Amanda's.
No, you don't have to, but
Oh, she has
I
to.
taste. I
Yeah.
get tart cherry and raspberry for sure.
I got a lot of raspberry.
We get strawberry.
I was gonna say I get some strawberry too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about the strawberry in this.
It
one.
is very
Mhm.
good.
I think that's the Cab Franc is bringing the strawberry for sure.
Ah,
All right, does anybody have any questions for this one? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Going, going, gone. All right. Oh, here's some bottling pictures.
Ooh.
I'm tucked away over in the corner there.
It's such a contrast between our yellow walls.
I know.
Just to
Yeah.
let you know, these yellow walls, this was Vinny's choice. I think the idea was he didn't want it too white, so it'd be like catch too much dirt look. And then
Ah,
he said, well, how about yellow? And I said, okay. And then I actually brought some like strips of colors, and this was like sunshine yellow. And we thought it would brighten our mood in that small room because it's a small room,
Yeah.
with a bottling
see that.
room.
Like dingy garage, yeah.
a dingy garage.
around on the other side.
Yeah. And so yellow it was. And then we painted it and we're like, wow, this is a lot of yellow. So,
grows on you after a while.
yeah, I guess we're used to the yellow room. Yeah.
All right. On to the last but not least, Pinot Noir. I believe these pictures are from 2020, perhaps, mostly because the fruit looks so good.
Yes, they are. Amy got out there with the camera and took lots of pictures.
So a little bit about 2020. I'm sure you've all heard this already. 2020 was a fantastic year. Very dry. I think the heat was actually pretty average, but the lack of water was definitely not average. We experienced a little drought stress in our vineyard. That helps concentrate both color and some tannins. So this Pinot might be a little more robust than perhaps you've experienced from our other Pinot Noirs. That goes for all of our reds in 2020. All in all, it was a fantastic year. So enjoy this while you can. I think this is one of the biggest Pinot lots that we've had. I think we have about 250 something cases, somewhere around there, maybe a little less. So there is more if you like this. A little bit about Pinot itself. It is from Burgundy, France. The clusters are very tight and compact, and they make it very hard to grow because the water gets trapped in there, mildews get trapped in there, and it's very hard to get fungicides in there to eradicate those, as well as just getting sunlight in there to dry them out. A little fun fact about Pinot, the name Pinot, I believe, comes from the French word of pine cone. That is mostly just to describe the shape of the cluster. It is very wide and then narrow at the end and compact like pine cone. So anytime you see Pinot Noir or drink Pinot Noir or Pinot Gris or Pinot Blanc or any of the Pinot families, you can remember that they're very compact and hard to grow. And it requires a lot of work from us. In 2020, we luckily had to do very little sorting. Unlike 2021, where we were sorting until almost midnight. So it is very reliant on the vintage. Good vintage is going to probably result in a pretty good Pinot. Some common flavors, lots of cherry, raspberry. Pinot tends to be very earthy, especially from cooler climates like the Finger Lakes and Burgundy. Atwater Pinot tends to have some violet character to it on the nose. I don't think we really got it in this vintage, but I would say that's probably because it was really warm. But you can get some floral, some purple floral notes as well as baking spices like clove. And in hotter years like 2020, you're definitely going to get some more stewed fruit to this wine compared to other years that maybe be less concentrated. We love Pinot here at Atwater. We have about a little over 3 acres. I believe that's our new number. That includes our baby block of Pinot Noir that we planted 2 years ago, 2020? No, yes, 2019, something like that. And you also know that we make rosé out of it, and it's very delicious too. So it's also a versatile grape. Go anywhere from rosé, can go into sparkling. We did some traditional method this year. Half of it was Pinot, half of it was Chardonnay. It is also a variety grown in Champagne, France, which is just north of Burgundy. And yeah, on to the wine itself. So like I said, it was very, oh goodness, that's chat. Very clean year. And so we could hold this until mid to late September. Harvest Brix was about 21, which is pretty good for us. Definitely that's a good range for us for reds. Some producers in 2020 probably kept theirs a little longer on the vine. but we focus more on acid, I guess, than the Brix number. Brix is important, but it's more important. Your acid, your pH, and your acid is a little more important. So we want our reds to have some acid. Hence why we, even in this hot year, still picked around 20 to 21 Brix. Fermentation was a bin fermentation. It was with 25% whole cluster. Whole cluster adds this another dimension of fermentation. So we'll throw the whole clusters in the bin. You can see in this picture down there, right at the bottom. They'll stay relatively whole and intact. And then we'll pump over some crushed fruit on top. And so those whole clusters will actually do kind of partial carbonic. It's not going to be full on where there's absence of oxygen, but partial carbonic will happen. And so within that berry, it will actually start to ferment in its own, and that will add another layers of complexity to the wine. I actually found a new word to call instead of partial carbonic, intracellular fermentation.
I like that, Wes. Nice job.
Intracellular. I think I'm going to start
Yeah.
using that now.
Where'd you hear that one? That's a good
It's on the back of a
actually
wine.
good.
Sam knows what wine I'm talking about, I think, but it was on the back of a wine label. Like, this wine was fermented with partial intracellular fermentation. Intracellular.
Oh,
What?
I
And
love
read-
fun. That's great.
I read further, and it was basically just partial whole cluster. It's a fancy word for whole cluster, whatever, partial carbonic. Like, nice. I'm going to start using that. So intracellular.
No, that
fermentation.
sounds very technical. I love
It's
it.
open top.
Is that going to
open
show up
top
on
bins.
Atwater labels next year?
Yeah, I think
It might. It might.
intracellular.
Intracellular. And it was fermented for about 8 days. And we pressed it off, and then we'll probably let it settle for about a day, and then sent those down to barrels where they aged in neutral French oak for about 8 months.
West, I don't know if anybody's looking at this, but there is a sort of cloudy texture to it.
Oh,
and
yes, we can talk about that.
Talk about our lack of
So
filtration.
all of our reds see very minimal filtration, whereas the whites and the rosés that you've had tonight go through something called sterile filtration. That is literally what it sounds like. It sterilizes that wine, not to mean that the red wine is going to harm you. I'll get into it in a minute here, but for white wines and anything that doesn't go through what's called malolactic fermentation, that is where the bacteria Ononochus oni, it is a naturally occurring bacteria that is all over the world. It is in your kitchen. It is where you are sitting. It is in our cellar. And that takes malic acid, which is found in grapes, and converts that. It eats it, and it basically, the result of that eating of the malic acid, it creates lactic acid. And that lactic gives you what's the lactic acid that's found in dairy. So it gives you more of a creamier, richer texture to it. Why that's important for filtering is bacteria like to feed on malic acid, just like that Ononochus oni does. But there's also bad bacteria, like Brettanomyces and other bacteria that will feed on that malic acid and then give it really bad off aromas. So that is why you sterile filter. So all of our whites, with the exception of a white that goes through malolactic fermentation, such as maybe our Chardonnay or our skin contact wines, all the wines that don't go through that process need to be sterile filtered to get any sort of bacteria out, so it doesn't start to re-ferment in your bottle and then you are unhappy. Also, any wine with sugar. Sugar can be very volatile, or sugar itself is not volatile, but there are still yeast within that wine And so they will they can begin to feed again on that sugar, and then it re-ferments again, and then you have problems. So that is why we steril filter. However, red wines, because they almost never have any sugar or very nominal amounts of sugar and go through malolactic fermentation, do not require to be steril filtered. And the benefit of this is sterile filtration, mostly for reds, not necessarily so much for whites. Sterile filtration can strip tannin and color aromas. If you can imagine how small bacteria are, you can also imagine that tannin molecules are about the same size. They're smaller, but some of them can be bigger. There are chains of these tannins, so they can get caught up in those sterile filter pads, and then you lose that in the wine. So about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, George and Vinny decided, why are we sterile filtering our reds if we don't have to? They did a trial, I believe it was with Cab Sauv, Cabernet Sauvignon, and I've actually tried these 2 samples because they had them around, still in corked and in bottle, and you could tell a clear difference between which one was sterile filtered and which one was rough filtered. Because of that trial, we decided, hey, well, if we don't need to sterile filter our reds, we won't, because clearly we're taking something out of this, and our mantra, both in the cellar and the vineyard, or just Atwater as a whole, is if we don't need to do something, we're not going to do it. If it doesn't benefit us to do this, to filter these, then we're not going to filter them. So if you look at this wine, you may notice that it's a little cloudy. Because 2020 was so warm and there was such a big drought, there was a lot of solids, and there's a lot of tannin, and there was a lot of color, and there's a lot of these molecules that just didn't end up sinking to settling out in the tank. Whereas other years, if you compare this to 2019, they're going to look very different. 19 is going to be much clearer, even though it was under the same filtration regime as this red went through. You'll still notice that this 2020, because of the vintage, we have a lot more solids in this wine compared to other vintages. So
I
don't
think
be afraid.
if you guys have come in, we did have the 19th. Actually, I think today's the last couple bottles went out. But if you guys have come in when you did the pickups and out, I think maybe some of you might have tasted them both together side by side. The 19 is like basically looks very crystal clear, like the
Yes.
Rosé, and then you have the 2020 next to it, same filtration, everything else, and it looked very cloudy. And I had a couple people like, "Oh, this is so different." Like, yeah, it's just vintage related. And if we're not doing what Wes was talking about, they do look very, one looks like sort of more sparkly. One looks a little bit, it has that little cloud to it. And it's actually quite fascinating to taste them and see that. There's the idea that, we're visual, not only are we smelling everything, but we're very visual. So seeing those differences sort of does change how we taste things too. Color, just the clarity and things does, influence how we taste. And that is sort of interesting to see those two together. 2 very different wines, and having one that's looks a little cloudier versus the very sort of sparkly one. But this one's actually pretty fascinating. Vinny's worked here 20 some years. I've worked here, enough since 13. Wes has been here, less. But for me, it's so interesting to taste this 2020 because I don't think even 916, that was very drought year. I don't think I've had a Pinot from Atwater that's been so sort of body tannic driven as the 2020. And I think it's going to be fun. This is actually still pretty young for this wine. This is going to be one of those wines that's going to age really nice, and probably is, if you have another bottle, set it down for another 6 or 8 months and then taste it after, it's going to be definitely opening up as the time goes on.
Definitely. I would even recommend if you have a decanter and you're planning on drinking this in the future, throw it in the decanter for half an hour. I think it'll really benefit from a little air And if you don't have a decanter, don't worry about it. I would just open the bottle half an hour before you want to drink it. Or leave it in your glass, even better if you can resist not drinking it.
That's
Even
what
the
I did. I
glass.
poured it because I had all these. I had all these 3 wines, so I poured it like at 6 before we started, and just left it in the glass. It's really nicely opened up.
Yeah, this is definitely and all of our 2020 reds are definitely reds that will last quite a while, or they'll age very well. I mean, all of our reds can age pretty well, but these will I think these will be tasting very good in a few years. They taste great now. This tastes great right now, but in 2 or 3 years, it'll be really great. Do I have any questions for this wine? See, chat is pretty quiet.
Everybody's just drinking all these wines and enjoying themselves, I guess.
Is that a challenge, Wes?
Yeah, Sam, you can ask me. You can ask me whatever question you
Yeah.
want.
I think Paul just brought in 2 bottles of wine.
I was
so-
gonna say.
No,
I just-
I did. I actually went and got a 19 and a 20, and I'm going to put a flashlight up to them and see if I can see the difference. Got me
See?
curious.
Oh, nice. Good job.
That's
Yeah.
far more methodical and much less fun than what I was imagining.
I was gonna say. I thought he was gonna drink it.
Are you opening the both?
I thought Paul was coming in hot with 2 bottles of wine.
There's
Like,
only
here we
2
go.
of us, and we're already on our second. So
Maybe tomorrow night.
I still had 2 of the 19s left, so I went and grabbed one.
Nice.
Oh, you can't see that way.
Yeah, can't tell.
No,
I'll have to do it
too bright.
later.
Yeah. Okay. You'll have to just open them up tomorrow. You'll have to.
Tomorrow.
You can't. No.
I don't know. Look, you're looking through the bottle.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, do the other one.
All right. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. That one is cloudier. than this.
Yeah, the 20 is a little cloudier in the bottle. There's like wisps of it inside.
See?
Yeah. Yeah, there'll be some
Wisps.
solids. Yeah.
Very
Those
fancy
open
we are
or
here.
not.
Not to their face.
No.
Yeah, I-
looking through the bottle. I
No,
didn't
I
probably can't
think
see it
it's,
through.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got me curious. I had to
So what
look.
are we supposed to do with the cloudy one? Just let it sit?
Just enjoy them.
Yeah, you don't have to do you don't have to do anything. There's nothing to worry about. The solids
Oh, okay.
won't kill you.
No,
They won't be
the-
that solid.
Yeah.
They'll just make it cloudy. Just won't make it. Won't be
I
like.
think.
If it
I
did,
think.
what a way to go.
I think we always we've gotten so used to we see this in beer. We talk about this all the time because of course all of us like beer here at Atwater too. All these cloudy beers came in this style over the past several decade or so, and the consumer and you guys have, especially with wine, got so used to this very clarified, like very sort of sterile wines that in the smaller batch stuff and the sort of as things have changed, getting used to sort of like I think they can be sometimes better wines is getting used to that. Everything doesn't have to be like perfectly clear to be. Sometimes it's better if we do less and make sometimes it makes a better wine. So it's fun to sort of small winery see change things as far as what we do production wise, but have I think better outcomes, and seeing other people like enjoy sort of and seeing this sort of thing, same things we have been seeing. Once again, looking at these the clarities and things like that and tasting through them. I think it's fun. We've had some people go, oh my gosh, I noticed this and I like it, but it's just not something always that people are used to seeing. So that's our job in the tasting room. Sam down there and everybody else is to show you what we're doing and then explain it and let you experience it for yourself. And I think it's pretty fun to see things that everyone's doing. Wes and in the cellar, and as we change and think about what we're Finger Lakes wines that we're making, is see once again to make the best wines we can, but also to see the things that we can change and improve on. And I think some of this stuff, yeah, just not filtering something that we didn't have to, changes the wine and actually makes a much better wine. So it's fun to watch. I haven't been here as long as Vinny, but it's still fun to see as much changes in the Finger Lakes as we have as seen in just in a decade or more, and just seeing the sort of changes that we with folks, how they experience our wines. I that's my favorite part of all of this, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So, anybody have any questions? I know Sam, you were going to ask something.
Come on, Sam, ask something.
You got a question?
Well, now that the slide is gone, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to reference it, but
There you go.
I mean, I was going to ask a little bit about the Pinot Noir here,
Sure.
and I think it was Paul, since Paul opened up, 2 Pinot Noirs. First of all, I'm
didn't
jealous
open-
because he didn't open.
No,
I didn't
no,
open
I
them,
did
I
not
just
open.
brought them here.
Okay.
You just
I
put a
got
light through
excited
them.
for you. Good man. Still, that's great. Well, you will be able to, if you were to do it side by side. I mean, wine is precious, but it is also really interesting to be able to drink wine side by side. So,
Yes.
one thing I was gonna bring up is the you have here listed 75% destemmed
Yep.
and 25% whole cluster. And typically, or I should ask, how typical is it to see Pinot Noir destemmed, both maybe in the Finger Lakes, but in, let's say, Burgundy?
So there are some, you may know.
Oh,
this,
and
Sam, I'm
second
sure.
part, what's the flavor difference? What's the main flavor
So-
difference in that?
I've heard a lot of not necessarily conflicting opinions on whole cluster as far as what it really does. What I can tell you is that with whole cluster, you're getting the stems. Stems can do a lot of things from textural. They can add a lot of actually literally stemmy taste to the wine, but they can also add stems have potassium in them. And so the potassium leaches out into the wine, and potassium will affect the pH of the wine. And depending on what your pH is, pH, for those of you who do not know, pH is the measurement of hydrogen in the wine, and acid is related to hydrogen. Don't ask me to get too much into it, but pH will affect a lot of things, but from an acid and from a consumer standpoint, pH will determine how acidic a wine tastes. So if you have a pH of 3 and a total acidity of 9 versus a wine that has a 3.5 pH and the same acidity of 9 grams per liter, those wines are going to taste different. One is going to have more perceived acid than the other, even though the acid is still the same. Anyway, so the stems can add potassium, which can affect your pH, which can either be a good thing or a bad thing. Within the New World, so New World meaning not Europe, North America, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, everywhere outside of Europe, I feel like Pinot Noir is commonly destemmed. It depends on the producer, and depends on the climate. There are Burgundian producers who do 100% whole cluster, and they stomp them with their feet to literally, or stomp them with something, crush them with something to crush a little of that fruit, because you're going to need some sort of liquid to cover the rest of the whole cluster. So it can be anywhere. It kind of depends on the winery, Sam. I guess that's my answer. But I think whole cluster is typically a old world, so European Burgundian thing, because they've been doing it for hundreds of years, and they didn't have a destemmer or a crusher in 1850 in Burgundy. They just chucked it in a bin and stomped on it, and that's how they crushed the fruit. It just wasn't mechanical.
Thank you, Wes. And to be honest, that is how I enjoy my Pinot Noir. Foot
Foot stomps?
stomped and old cluster.
Good to know. I'm working on it next year. That's what I'll do, just for you. Anybody else? Okay. Does anybody have any additional wines they want to talk about that were not in this 3 for pack?
Yeah, I know we were
Just,
talking about all those folks that, change the wines or have other wines in their shipments. These are all for them too. We do highlight the ones we selected, but not everybody wants all the wines we selected, or they got those and got some more. So I think, I don't know, anybody in anybody here get the newer orange wine in their shipment. We have some, that was an option in some of them. Anybody get any of the Chardonnay or the Gewurz Chardonnay orange wine?
Gewurz Chardonnay.
Mm-mm.
Doesn't look
No?
like it.
Oh, all right.
No.
Give that a try next time.
I do have
So
a
that-
question, since the Pinot is a Cab-Blaufränkisch. We have a 2017 Cab-Blaufränkisch, and I'm just wondering if we should drink that.
The rosé, is it a rosé?
No, it's a red. Completely unrelated to anything current.
17.
There was a 19.
There's a 19 Cab Franc-Blaufränkisch blend.
Pretty sure it's a 17. I can run back down.
There's a Cab Merlot 17.
Yes.
The Cabernet Franc Blaufränkisch was the first one we made in a red wine was in 2019.
Okay, then that's the one we have.
Okay. Yeah.
Will that age, or should we drink it?
Yes. It will age.
It'll age. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So we did 2. So we did that as a red blend, and then we liked that, and so we made a rosé out of it. So the red blend should age too. Once again,
Totally.
can you drink it now? Absolutely, drink it now
Yes.
if you want. But it should
We
age.
have, because I have notes on it. I'm just wondering if I should save the one we have left, because there aren't any more to buy.
I would save it.
Save it for 6 months and then drink it.
Yeah, I mean, 6
Save
months,
it until it's cooler
6
out.
years.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
wait till light's a little cooler and then it's time.
Okay.
That being said, the Cab Merlot blend I think is one of our all-time favorites.
The
Well,
17, yeah, that's
I love that wine.
last 5 cases. The last 5 cases are here. So if you like it, it's almost gone. I feel like that wine's been a lot. We were just talking
we've had
about
it for so long.
we made a lot of that wine, but it's been around for a long time. It's
Okay.
finally almost gone. So
Okay,
Thanks.
pretty acidic. Yes.
so if you liked it, come get the last couple bottles, because probably the next time you come in, it'll be gone.
I'm just making notes.
Take notes. The same thing with the Blau 17. Basically they're actually the same. Both of them have like 6 cases left, so 5 or 6 cases. So Blau 17 is going to be gone too, and so
Nice with that.
we were just talking about the next wines for the next wine club shipment. I won't tell you because it's a secret yet. But
Will it wait 3 weeks till we get there?
it'll wait.
Gary, 6 weeks.
That's just a mean tease, man.
I know. Sorry. Me and Amanda just sat down today to talk about it, but we can't. It's too early.
I may have privately chatted one person about one of the wines, but
Oh no.
not all of them. You'll have to
My
figure out
God.
which person that is.
Wow.
Yeah. Then like
No,
Security
see, that's
breach.
a worse tease now.
It's something
Yeah.
to anticipate and look forward to.
by the way, I got you guys all here. I think we're talking about doing some. I know everyone's not around here, but we're talking about in the next couple of weeks do like a music night on Thursdays and like by the glass thing open till 8 and doing some music night. So if anybody's around, we're going to try to do some evening fun things for April. So
End of April, we'll come up from Philly.
okay. Well, I
There
think
we
we're going to
go.
do it on Thursdays. So it's gonna be, we're gonna have like, we're gonna try it out. We have never had music before. Well, not in a long time, except for like club parties. But I think we're gonna try to do a Thursday night music by the glass sort of thing in the tasting room. So if anybody's in town on a Thursday evening, I think we're gonna try to get those done next week or couple weeks here.
That's right. And it's a little late now, but I did want to just let everyone know that I am the new tasting room manager. My
Oh,
name's
yeah.
Sam. Looking
Sam.
forward to getting you all in the tasting room throughout the course of the season and meeting you face to face. And for the Nordographs, if you get off the couch there, I know you're very comfortable over there on the seats. If you can make it off those, no. I'm honestly just very envious of that setup. It's a great setup. I was admiring that. You guys look cozy. Cheers to that.
We all do. Every time we see them, we're just like, what is going on?
I was wondering if like we're on the big screen because it looks cozy.
You guys are on the big screen, the laptop sitting in front of it, and then you're on the big screen.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. Cheers
Yeah.
to that. Yeah.
Wes is this giant head. on
I'm
the
just
big
a
screen.
giant head.
Floating head.
Big floating head.
I can make that a reality if you want. I think I can like, focus on myself or. Maybe I
So what's different
Oh.
about the tasting room this week from last week?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question.
don't
I
think
actually, we
anything.
got some new lights coming.
Oh.
I just ordered some new lights for when you walk in, some crazy weird lights. So the weird lights should be coming in a couple weeks. And I think in 2 weeks, they might start putting the kitchen or the cabinets in the new kitchen area. So maybe you'll see some of that.
Nice.
We're there. We'll be there someday during the week of the 25th. We don't know which day yet.
All right. Yeah, there's going to be a transition of things going on. Yeah, I just ordered some kitchen sink kind of things and some a new little refrigerator things. Yeah, so I'm
Calendar.
stressing out about
We haven't planned all our stops yet, but my two daughters and I are renting a house over in Cuca Lake for the whole week from 23rd to the 30th.
Oh, that's right, because you're coming for the
Yeah,
the
'cause
Riesling,
we're
the
actually
Riesling
gonna do
thing.
the dry Riesling
The
tasting
Riesling
from,
thing. That's
yeah.
yeah. So you'll be able to see some new things in there. So hopefully I have the lights it because I'm excited about new lights. I always like cool new light fixtures. So hopefully those will be fun. So yeah, the floor. We probably haven't seen the. I mean, other than some pictures on Facebook, you'll get to experience the new floor. So yeah.
Oh, and I like your yellow, but gray also goes good with yellow.
Great.
We did our house gray, inside gray and yellow.
Yes. I don't know if you have all the walls are yellow, but it was like
No,
yeah.
our kitchen and our dining room is.
All right. Yeah. The bottling room is quite.
It's cheery.
It's very it's very sunny in there.
Funny.
I think because when you're in the bottling room, it's like especially you're doing a lot of bottling, oftentimes in cold times and when it's dark outside. And so I guess that was the impetus to make it yellow. But yeah, there's no windows going to the outside in the bottling room, so it can be a little depressing. So the yellow was
So that
meant
helps
to.
brighten it up.
It's supposed to, yeah. But it is a little bit weird when we're taking pictures. You're like, oh, that is a lot of yellow. But so
Looks good.
yeah, it's once again, it wasn't. It seemed a little less yellow when we chose it, but man, it when you're in there, it's yellow. It's very yellow.
All right. Anybody have any final remarks here?
Final comments.
Comment?
All right,
Nope.
man. Well, you guys got plenty of bottles open, so you
Yeah.
got the rest of the evening. Did anybody make the food? Did anybody? I know
No.
we asked earlier. the braised lamb with red wine and prunes.
Oh, that sounds really good. I should have.
I
made that.
didn't this time because we lost our booklet. I usually make the food. I always make the food.
See?
We were grossly underprepared for
See,
today.
you guys should have called me.
I'm not
We
gonna
would've-
lie.
We would have
Worked out
photocopied
there.
it and sent it to you. Oh well, that's okay. I'm vegetarian, so
I
this
made
is not my
lamb for
vegetarian.
the straw tasting back in January.
That's right.
Delicious.
It seems like we use lamb a lot in these recipes. I think because of these sort of Pinot and red wines. I think Finger Lakes reds usually do pretty well with lamb. So
I agree with you.
yeah, it seems like we often use that.
I was actually today looking through all the recipes back to 2013 wine club. It was very interesting, all the recipes over the years.
Oh, just to
Yes.
let you guys know, once again, since all of our favorite folks are here, I did secure, I don't know if anybody's the vineyard table dinners. I don't know if anybody's been to those.
Yes.
Um,
Those are awesome.
They're coming back. So starting in June, we're going to start posting dates for those. June, I think we got one in June already, 2 in July, and 1 in August. So we have some new caterers. They have been doing some catering work for us, and they're amazing. They're a
Really good.
husband and wife team out of sort of Penn area. And I'm really excited. They already gave us themed. There was like a lobster and steak. There's a Asian night. There's a couple other different seafood nights. So if you guys are interested in those, keep an eye out, because once Amy gets all the materials together, we're going to start posting those.
Is
I'm
there going
excited.
to be any lamb?
Probably.
I don't know if there's a lamb one. No, there's steak. There's a lobster and steak, which sounds very extravagant.
There's also vegan options for all of those. I
Yes, there's
believe,
always, that's
for
right.
you non-meat eaters.
I know Rob Maines is not here, but for me and there are actually some awesome tofu options too. So
Yes, Laura, it's the same people who did the chili for the February pickup.
yeah, we're really
That was
excited.
a great weekend too. So thanks for that.
Yeah, we'll have to see what we come up with this time. They're going to be doing some foods for the next club pickup too.
We need to live closer.
Any ideas about restarting the Case Club parties every year?
I don't know if we're probably not going to do the Case Club party, but we're going to do more of these sort of smaller events for club. I think what I'd like to do, and I know we talked about it a little bit, I talked with Sam and Amanda about these, is doing some more club focused night things, things like like a club date where once a month we have like a club evening or some other fun things and also just for the club pickups that we expand them a little bit. I guess the big thing was it's fun, but I think not everybody can get to it. So I'd like to do more smaller things that everyone can get to, and they can be more intimate. I think the big one can be a little bit so overwhelming with so many people. So I don't know if we're going to do like a big club party, but at least we're going to do more smaller parties so everybody can be involved in some way, I think, if that makes sense. I like seeing everybody and spending more time. Some of the bigger stuff, it is get hard to see everybody and spend every time with everybody. So instead of having one big one, I want to have lots of small ones that we can all, if you guys can't come to that one, yeah, I think if you guys can't come to that one, you guys definitely can come to another one. So I can, I think all of us can see all you guys and spend a little bit more time, and more parties are more fun. So, we just gotta wait one time a year. But we have
No.
6 or 8.
I do see you went from having pickup day to like pickup week.
Yeah. It's a little bit, once again, same reason. So instead of just doing a pickup Saturday or whatever, you could pick up all week, and hopefully on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we can have some food things and So once again, I think everybody's got days they can and cannot do, and I'd like to make sure that everybody sort of gets a chance to be a part of everything. And once again, even for you guys, we can't make this Friday. Maybe we have a Saturday or Sunday that you can get to that you might not normally be able to get to because of that. So hopefully, I guess I'd like to make more options available as opposed to just one, all in or all out kind of thing. As well as, now the vineyard tables are coming back. I'd like to be able to offer those first at clubs so we can get a lot of folks for that. And, now that, hopefully COVID's over, hopefully nothing else terrible happens, we can do, the vineyard picking events and things like that back again. So keep an eye out for those things too.
More events are preferable to those of us who are a little bit further away and
Yeah, that's sort of the thing,
need
as
time to plan.
as we get we do have a larger club now, which is once again for us is amazing. But I also want everybody to be involved and not just, one day and they can't make it. I definitely, like I said, the smaller events are fun to see everybody. And if you can't make it to that, you can make it to one of the other ones at least where we can all chat and have a fun time. So it's nice to do all these things. Like I said, what I'd like to do is like, even if during the season, once a month, we have a club night. If you're in town, great. For those that can come up for a day or night or two, same thing. We open up sort of like we're talking about, like a Thursday night music night, but basically it's just club members and we just all come together once a month and stuff like that. So we're going to try to do some more of those kinds of things for everybody. And I think Sam, working with Sam now and Amanda, between the club and Sam and Amanda, to get all that stuff together where we can do a little bit more fun things for everybody and actually get you guys out here. Because I think it's also fun to meet other club members and, all of us, I love Atwater just because, I love where I'm at in this land, but you guys obviously love the wines too. To get you guys together, people that love Atwater wine, come hang out. To have more
Dan, is the
options.
tasting room still by appointment?
What's that?
Is the tasting room still by appointment?
We're open, if you come by and we take in walk-ins too. I think on a weekend, if you guys know you're coming.
Oh no, we'll be there all week, so we would come on a weekday.
Yeah, so on the weekdays, it's usually pretty good. So if it's like a Friday or Saturday, I would just give us a call and see how things are going. Because of course, as club members, we want to make sure you guys get a space and everything else. On a busy Saturday, that's crazy. I want to make sure you guys get first, dibs on tables. So I would say on those busy weekends during the season, I would schedule an appointment or give us a call so we make sure we have some space. But during the week,
I still have the link to the website where you used to make the appointment. So.
Yeah, it's still on there. So if you go on there, you could always make an appointment and get your space, especially, just so we have the table ready. It's actually nice because, we get everything ready for you guys. And it's really good to make sure we have everything.
We'd have like 5 or 6 people, so.
Yeah, especially if you have 5 or 6 people, definitely schedule an appointment because this way we make sure we get the right size table for you and we make sure we have everything ready. So if you're going to be here with your family on those weekends there, Paul, just schedule, you can call Amanda or you can just go on the website, schedule it. Just use your.
This week coming up in April, that will be up there, but for that, we'll just probably come on a Monday or Tuesday or something.
Yeah.
So Paul, just remember that through April, we are closed Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Tuesdays.
When you plan.
Wednesdays,
Yeah.
okay.
And May will be open 7 days again, but through April, Thursday through Monday.
Thursday through Monday.
Got it.
Okay.
Thanks for the reminder.
That's a good plan. All right.
Monday shouldn't be too bad, but if you got a group of 5 or 6, just let us know so we have everything ready for you.
Yep.
Our pups would like to know if dogs are still allowed in the tasting room.
Dogs, unfortunately, because of all the food stuff we're doing now, aren't allowed in the tasting room. In the summer, of course, the outside bar and everything else is dog friendly.
Okay.
But in the tasting room, unfortunately, now that once again we sort of changed things, and that there's food of options, we can't have dogs in the tasting room.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. You just might
which
have heard
is
them barking in the background. asking.
yeah.
We're
Well,
raising the
no,
paws.
I have 5 pugs, so you know, I do love dogs.
Clearly Amanda has a
I
cat.
was gonna say, speaking of
Amanda's got a cat,
animals,
yeah.
you
Speaking of animals,
just scared the crap out of me. This is Sturmageddon, Dark Lord of Sabal. If you watch Doctor Who, you'll get the reference, but
Yeah. Yeah, so once again, especially in the summer, bring the dogs. We talked to some other club members that aren't here today, but they just got a baby young Rottweiler, and we're excited to see them come out for the outdoor stuff bring the Rottweiler, because he gets to meet the pugs this year, so that'll be fun.
All right.
Well, thanks again for
Yep,
doing this.
Yes,
you.
thank you guys.
Hey,
for
yeah.
so
coming.
much.
Thank you.
nice
Thanks.
seeing
Thank you
you.
guys.
Good
everyone.
night.
Cheers,
Thanks.
good night.
Good
We'll
night,
see you all
guys.
soon, especially you
Bye.
guys. We'll see you soon.
Okay. You
Yep.
will.
Thanks again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, guys.
And then there were
Well done.
3.
Well done.
Yeah, good
Thank
job,
you.
Wes.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Always a
there it is.
pleasure.
I'll take tips in the jar.
Yeah, I didn't. What's the online tip thing? What is that? What's the platform that
You can Venmo me. I don't know.
Venmo? Yeah.
Yeah, Venmo me. I'll put my Venmo link in the description.
Yeah, they should start doing that. Actually, on those, if we do any big
Those
virtuals,
big
like, hey,
parties. Yeah, if you guys like this,
you guys like this?
Pay my
Here's the
rent.
link to Venmo. Yeah, I know.
Oh, now I might do that.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks, Sam. Good questions.
see you
Thank you
guys
so much for
tomorrow.
helping out.
Did I do okay?
Yes, you're
Yeah.
bottling with us tomorrow.
Boy, you even got the shirt.
I am
on.
bottling with you. I still have the shirt on.
Jesus, yeah. I
Nice.
feel like I didn't even wear anything, not even my hat. My hat. Jesus.
You
Wow.
did good. You have your
Thanks.
beard on. Everybody knows
I have
you.
always
Oh,
the
yeah.
beard.
Yeah.
Always.
Did
yeah.
well, I walked down there with Gary and some dude that was that drunken dude that came out. I was like, hey, you guys
Oh, yeah.
Amish here?
God, that guy was
What?
pretty obnoxious.
Like,
yeah.
I like, no, I just got a beard, dude. He's like, ah, really good.
That
yeah.
guy was a real winner. That one was.
Oh, he
Oh,
was
man.
pretty fun. Yeah, just wandering out with his one bottle of wine.
Hey, at least he bought something.
I know he did buy something. Yeah, I wonder what he bought.
Celsius.
I was gonna
Ah.
say.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet wine
Well,
time.
guys, I'm gonna go have some dinner. I
Yeah,
will
I'm gonna
catch you.
scoot.
Take care.
Goodbye.
All right, see you guys. Bye.
Adios. Bye.
Bye. Bye. See ya. See ya.